Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of Natural Expansion, the StarCraft 2 podcast with myself, Wardy. Today, I'm joined by two guests. We're changing it up. We're going to go full Dutch, and we're going to invite Thalandros and Optimus. Guys, what's up? Thalandros, how you doing?
Hello.
What's up? I'm doing great. I just finished casting a couple days of Dutch StarCraft myself, and I'm gonna be happy to talk about some of that soon, I guess.
Yeah, you actually make a better guess than I realized until just now, because... No, I'm not even joking. I completely forgot you actually casted, like, WESG qualifiers and stuff as well, and we're going to be talking about that. Like, this completely, like, baffled me, like, just now. I was like, whoa, wait, you're actually relevant rather than that random guy. No, I'm
See, I would hate on you for that, but I only just realized that as well. So.
We both realized the quality of the invites as the show starts. I love it. What's up, Optimus? How you doing as well, mate?
What's up?
As
I'm doing
Mimi as
fine.
always. Love it.
I'm doing fine.
You're like a natural expansion pro at this point. It's been a while since you've been on, but you were on like a couple of the video.
I was on one of the. Was I on the first?
Did you do it? You did. You've done a couple with me, I'm sure.
With Lycan,
Yeah,
you,
that was like number
me,
3 or something.
and
Haas-
Penguin.
Penguin? Did you not do one with Harston as well? I think you did 2 in a row.
Well, he came on as a guest after.
Really?
As well as Fear. No, wait.
No,
After
you did
that,
too.
me, Fear and you. Yeah, I did. Oh shit.
See?
I didn't
That's
even.
that's what I'm saying. Natural Expansion Pro. We changed a bit since then. We used to have like all these fancy webcams and overlays, and now we just talk because it's an improvement, I reckon. All
I
right.
think most people listen anyway to just listening rather than watching
Yeah.
us.
No. This is what I thought. I thought who actually really needs to watch. And you know what? What someone said the first time I did audio only, they said, literally, I'm not even joking. They said, I think it's a waste that you make this a YouTube video, but don't include any video. But so now we have like a combination of no webcams, but like just like some like screens of like bits and pieces going on. So yeah, it's sorted out. It's figured out. It's good. I like it. It's been a little while since I did an episode. I've been traveling a bit and caught up completely and getting back. I've been quite ill as well, and it's been pretty hectic. Like it's been like 3 weeks apparently, which to me doesn't make any sense because like it can't possibly have been 3 weeks ago, but apparently it has been. So here we are. And today we're going to talk a little bit about kind of regional-based competition, which has been kind of on the tip of people's tongues because WESG 2017 is starting up. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Asian Indoor Martial Arts Games and sort of like esports moving further than just being esports and tournaments and going into like Olympics and stuff. Because I casted in Turkmenistan there. I'll talk a bit more about that later. It's an interesting one. We've got Optimus here, so we're going to get Optimus to go full Terran Crybaby and tell us why no one is playing Bio in TvZ anymore. I mean, like, literally, my introduction to both you guys was we're going to say about why Mech is OP right now. Maybe not so much why Mech is OP, but why people are just playing Mech more.
Alright.
Because we want to try and bring some more strategy stuff in, and we actually got a player here, so, we're gonna make use of you while we've got you. It's not very often we get to catch a rare Optimus on the stream.
Wow.
Wow.
Hold on.
Wow. Wow.
Let's go.
It was a very hard catch as well.
I mean, I don't know how you caught him. You caught him like over the weekend, right? And then you brought him to your house. That's why.
I know he won't leave.
No, he won't leave. Yeah, Optimus is, I put in quotation marks, boot camping at the Mart household, which also features the one and only U-Thermal. Mark's there
Yes.
right now, isn't he?
We
I'm
also
sorry.
he's
have
downstairs,
we have an
Yeah.
infamous caster here as well, Martosis.
Martosis.
No.
I haven't heard this meme being born, but I have seen it. The Martosis. Where did this
Mart.
start?
Oh no! Don't.
We got an email from the SCL, like the info email regarding WESG,
Yeah.
and he put in the email like, "Oh, by the way, the stream will be provided by the one and only Martosis Thalandros."
Martosis. That's
And
brilliant.
now, since then, we've been calling him Martosis.
I mean, that's really turned into quite a house. Man.
I can't believe we've never thought of that because it's so obvious.
Yeah.
Martosis.
Wow.
It's like a really recent thing.
It
Yeah,
just
it's only
it just
been like
sort
a
of
week.
shows why Mart's like a 5k Zerg and you're Terran, right? Like you just can't actually operate your brains to put 2 and 2 together.
Oh, wow.
Well, I know. We're going all in on the TvZ balance already. All right, let's kick this off about things we should actually probably talk about. We're going to start talking about WESG. So obviously, you guys just kind of came in. This actually we can talk about a bit about DSCL as well because I guess it's sort of the same thing, which also kind of affects you guys because it's the Dutch StarCraft League. But WESG 2017 is kicking off. If you guys aren't aware of what this is, it's a massive event. There's so much money involved in WESG. It's sort of a little bit. It's kind of a little bit insane. For some reason, my thing's on the wrong page. Hang on. I'm gonna do some fixing of the overlay here. See, this is why we shouldn't have done video. How can this go wrong? This is literally. How can it be capturing the wrong side of my screen? It doesn't make sense. Okay.
Oh boy.
But no, it's okay. It's fixed. It's simple.
Okay.
I'm a technological master, something like that. I don't know. So yeah, WSG 2017 is a huge event, $400,000 main prize pool for the main event, and that's led into by a bunch of separate events such as the Asian Pacific qualifier, the European qualifier, North and South American qualifier, and the African and Middle East qualifier. Which sounds like, okay, it's just a few qualifiers, but those are actually themselves like $30,000 to $40,000 events. And below that, there is qualifiers from each region, which build up into those, say, European finals, which is, again, it's weird. It's like the European qualifier. I think they should call it like the European finals. But for example, the European finals is made up of a bunch of qualifiers, which leads into the European finals. And some of those have prize pools, some of them don't. Some of them are just online events. So, for example, the Dutch one was played offline. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, tell us about it. I mean, obviously, you guys had the privilege of getting an offline event in the Netherlands. So why don't we just start with you guys and how your event went and what you thought of it?
So I want to really quickly lead into how it played out, though, because it was offline. The top 8 was played offline, but people had to qualify for it. So both Thermal and Harstem, as pretty much the established top 2 players from the Netherlands, they were invited to the top 8. Then you had 2 qualifyees, both from an online qualifier, which I also casted, and then 4 players coming from the Dutch StarCraft League qualifiers. So that was kind of intertwined. The offline event was at a Dutch convention called First Look. It's kind of like a small Gamescom for those of you who don't know it. And that was just the top 8. Everything, it was a best of 5, including the finals. Very, very simple. Or so we thought, until we realized there was no internet. There was no internet to upload, so I couldn't stream it. For a minute, we actually thought we were just going to completely cancel the stream. But apart from that, there was also like a 600 to 700 ping in the entire building. So it was completely impossible for players to play. They thought about rescheduling it, doing it at home, blah blah blah. But after 3 hours of time, it actually worked out, and we started the show at 1:30 instead of 10 a.m. And then we still played it out, and it was concluded by 5 p.m. Uthermal taking a clean 3-0 victory over Harstem in the finals. And that's it. So Uthermal qualifies for Spain later this year.
Yeah, just to add to that, obviously these little qualifiers to the European finals. The European finals is like an event of its own, which will take place in Barcelona, November 22nd through 26th. So you guys had some issues. It's kind of funny because this is a big event with a lot of money in it, and obviously they're starting to do these things where they're like, last year all the qualifiers more or less were online. This year they're starting to kind of hand them out to kind of people to kind of run themselves and sort of bring a bit more kind of region-based love in and giving like the offline event sort of feel. Obviously it maybe didn't go so well with the people who were running the event for you guys. I mean, what was your take on Optimus? You were obviously a player there. You had a close series 2-3 against Harstem in the semis to lose out, but what was your opinion on it? Would you have rather just been overall an online event, or?
No, I think besides the internet issues, I think it was pretty well run. I mean, it's not the tournament organizers' fault that there were technical issues. I was on the side of the production crew of the event itself. But I'll have to say DSCL as well as the admins, they did a really good job at like trying to come up with solutions, and I think it was pretty well run. As for how I played, I think I played pretty poorly. I think most of us were not playing too well. So yeah, it's sad losing out 2-3. But yeah, I didn't come there expecting too much, so I can't be too sad about it either.
Yeah, conditions were kind of poor, right? Because of that really slow start to the day, and then also just the location. It wasn't perfect. Obviously, you never expect it to be at a LAN event. First Look does not have the greatest reputation in the Dutch scene for tournaments. Obviously, it's not like a LAN or anything, but from previous StarCraft events that I have played there, so people weren't expecting too much, and that obviously didn't come true either.
Okay.
But still, I mean, I still think the games were playable in the end, right, Vince?
Yeah, for sure. Like after like 2.5 hours, everything was fixed. But
Yeah.
at that point, people were like starting to lose patience, getting tired and stuff. So
Yeah.
not everyone was really on point towards the semi and grand.
All right. So I mean, so again, like you say, it was kind of okay playing offline. I mean, it's kind of weird to have all these qualifiers have different things. We have like the majority of these European qualifiers are being played online as just sort of like single elimination events, like best of threes and a best of five final. Obviously, you guys had like this whole kind of qualifier system into your offline finals, which also paid out $1,000 as well. I mean, I guess that's one of the big differences why it's maybe also preferred, I suppose, to have like an offline final, because of the idea of maybe being able to get, if they fund like $1,000 prize pool, it's something extra to play for. I mean, nowadays, I don't know. I mean, I know in the UK it's pretty dead, but I think in the Netherlands too, you guys used to have a lot of StarCraft lands, right? And nowadays you don't have anywhere near as many.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a kind
So
of a
yeah.
shame. Seen kind of around end of Heart of the Storm, it kind of completely died out. The um the lands, which is a bit of a shame because I think in general the level has definitely gone up and the amount of players have also gone up. I think. I just feel like it's a bit of a shame, but the local scene doesn't support StarCraft. They kind of meme about it. Even the tournament organizers like herb derp that game, so we don't even really want to go there anymore. At least I personally don't want to go to tournaments that are like herb derp that game. So yeah, I don't know. I'm happy with how the Europeans right now. I can't really complain. Though national competition is always very great, and I had a lot of fun meeting the boys.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think that's why
So
I wanted to just like get at like, is it still something you like going to? Like, do you like the idea
Hmm.
of national competition? I think the thing is, everyone says, yeah, it's kind of a good thing. Do you think it's nice to have WSG as an event? Like, do you think it's some like a cool addition to like the StarCraft scene, or, you know,
Oh,
yeah,
for sure. Yeah, yeah. There are
Y-
some things that they um should have done better. Like for example, the amount of seats some countries received,
sure.
or
So,
combination of countries. But in
so I
general,
can
it's
actually
probably a really good event.
answer to why that is. It's basically because WSG is not just a StarCraft 2 game.
Yeah,
Or tournament. It's also shared with CS:GO, Dota 2, and
yeah,
Hearthstone, and so it's a combination of number of signups from previous years. And I mean, this is the first year they've had like a second year to like a previous year to look at, but they kind of looked at a combination of like how much, how large the player base is in each country for each game, how many signups there were from each country in each game, and stuff like that. And I think one of the big things is, for example, like Snoot and Serral have to play in the same qualifier this year, which is only going to give one spot. And obviously, for some people, they're like, well, that's crazy because, Snoot and Serral are two of the very best in the world. But the problem is, like, it was something like last year, I think the Finnish qualifier had like four signups and the Norwegian qualifier had two. And so they can't justify, just for StarCraft, just leaving them, as separate qualifiers because
yeah.
even if they've got like some of the best players, it's just like it's just like something they can't really justify. So that's sort of the
Yeah, yeah,
justification.
yeah.
It's
But
like
uh,
it's a bit tough. It's a bit weird. I know what you mean. Like we have a lot of like grouped up countries as well. I feel as though I just casted one of these events today, the Central European qualifier. I feel this one's like really kind of clumped up. Like Austria, Switzerland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, Italy is just a few
yeah,
of them. And like, there might not be like a tip-top Swiss player right now or Austrian player, but I could name like a lot of players from each of these countries that maybe don't have an immediate chance to qualify, but like are pretty good, right? Like, and then
oh,
you compare it to like, for example, like casted yesterday the Southeastern European qualifier, which is Croatia and Greece and Israel and Serbia and Slovenia, and we only had three signups. And it's
yeah.
kind of like, it is a bit weird, but again, it's because of other games and stuff like that, so it makes it a bit strange. But overall, you can generally like the idea of WSG, right? Doing something a bit
Oh,
different, national based.
yeah. I think in general, um, a lot of people always like to root for people from their country because they have some kind of
Yeah.
bond with him. Like, hey, he's from my country, so I should support him. If that kind of idea,
Yeah.
right? Like, if
Yeah.
somebody, I remember when Thijs got to was it the semifinals or the grand finals of BlizzCon the Hearthstone, and I just wanted to watch because he was from the Netherlands as well, right? So that kind of the national pride, or yeah, I think that comes into play for.
Yeah, for sure. And it's healthy, and it's good for for esports in general to play into that, because I think it does play a big role, whether people want to admit it or not. The majority of fans still, well, yeah, I guess whether they want to admit it or not. Like, for example, you, Wardy, if you were purely a viewer, I'm sure you would prefer to watch a Clotter Heiser or a Risky play compared to, for example, Optimus. If you don't know these players, right? Just based
Sure.
on
I
the
mean,
fact that they're
if I start
relatable.
watching an event, then I want to cheer on the UK guy over
Yeah,
on the other guys, unless I have a reason to cheer on the other guys, right?
exactly. Yeah.
It is cool. It's bringing something to StarCraft, which I think is kind of missing. Not in a mass way. Like, we have Nation Wars, which is a cool chance to show on your country and so on. But I do feel as though it's something that's, it's something unique. It's a really good idea. And right now it's being done, I feel, pretty well by WESG. Obviously, there's some issues with the mana seeds and so on, but the overall scale of this is huge as well. Like, the fact we're just talking about loads of qualifiers just for European finals. And then we can talk about, like, for example, Asia Pacific, for example, China is absolutely insane. China had offline qualifiers for each region of China, basically, and then it qualified into this big event, which was obviously kind of huge as well. And they had something like $8,000 on the line just for this Chinese qualifier. And this is like the Chinese qualifier into the Asian Pacific qualifier. Like, it really is kind of insane the size of this. So it's pretty cool. It's kind of complicated to kind of keep up to date with it all because there's different formats here and there and everywhere. But for the most part, it's looking to be pretty awesome, I think. So yeah,
Yeah.
glad to hear you guys like it. Just before we move on into the next topic, I'm just going to say, obviously, yeah, Dutch StarCraft League is coming up as well. You of course sort of mentioned Dutch StarCraft League a couple of times there. I believe
Mm-hmm.
they worked with the guys to put on WSG, right? Or is that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
okay,
So
so
with the guys that outsource, with WESG, who has outsourced it, and in the Netherlands they outsourced it to Esports Wall, and Esports Wall has made this deal with the DSCL.
okay.
I believe that's how it works.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, let's just talk about DSCL for a moment then, I guess, because obviously that's another event which isn't obviously kind of completely regional based like this, but it does sort of promote regional competition because it's not a massive event, but it has an offline finals, and so you can see like a few people generally traveling from like fairly nearby countries, but it doesn't like promote like a lot of players to travel from all over. So I mean, that's coming up. I think the qualifiers just wrapped up, and 16 players are
Yep.
set to play in the event. Uh, yeah, I mean, I don't really want to spend too much time on this. There's not much to say actually, but just kind of cool to see Dutch StarCraft League still going on actually, because I know it's been like the third or fourth year of it or something. Actually,
Yeah,
it's the fifth year. It started in 2013.
it's still going strong, and actually, I think viewership over the years has increased, even though
Oh,
viewership in
definitely.
StarCraft 2 hasn't necessarily, right? Like, it has definitely for the DSL. It's slowly starting to get more recognition internationally and nationally. We see
No,
players
it
every
definitely
year
has. It
that have,
100%
yeah,
has. Like, I remember last year in the offline finals, because I casted it, we had like 2,000 views for the offline finals, which is way more
yeah,
than we've had before. And while
and
while it is generally dominated by like Thermal and Hearthstone, nowadays you still get some pretty close games. Like, I think it definitely wasn't easy for Thermal and Hearthstone last year. It's pretty close for those
for sure.
guys. I
So,
mean, Optimus put
I
up a
mean,
fight.
apart from that, Um, it's also the fact that like I think this year specifically, I think the DSCL has really it was really confusing at the start with WESG, but now that that's over with, it's really interesting because and for those guys that are out of the loop, which I don't blame you, but DSCL has two different circuits running to create the eventual DSCL in the end. And I think it starts the 9th of December is when the playoffs start. But before that, we have now had online qualifiers, four of them and one last chance qualifier. Um, and all of these players, obviously the top two qualifies, right? But apart from that, we also have a local circuit, which is why I like it so much. And I think every country should have something like this, right? Every country where StarCraft 2 has like good amount of representation, it should. There's a local circuit that is now actually. I heard this from Frank. at WESG this weekend, and he announced it on Twitter, I think, last night. But there's going to be a couple of local events, offline events, before the actual finals of the DSCL that are going to give spots to Dutch talent in the Dutch StarCraft League main event. So that's really, really cool because that's kind of obviously it allows players like, for example, Gerald, who has qualified, right? Risky, who's actually qualified. It allows Dutch talent to also still that might not be like an Optimus or might not be like a Hearthstone to still participate and potentially like play in front of a Dutch audience. I think that's really, really cool, and they really they worked hard to make that happen this year.
I mean, I think that's a big thing as well, right? Because this is an event which tries to focus on bringing StarCraft to the Netherlands, but also at the same time, it's a little bit weird because it does promote kind of other players from other regions come into play, and sometimes while you might expect to see a top 8 Dutch lineup, it's definitely not the case. Like, there is going to be, I mean, there's only 7 Dutch players in the round of 16 right now. Top 8 go to the offline finals, plus the 4 players from the local track. So, yeah, as you mentioned, I think kind of cool. I mean, I guess Optimus is maybe not in that sort of position anymore, but I imagine Optimus like a year or two ago, a couple of years ago, I guess, this would be the sort of thing that you'd look at as like a really cool opportunity to kind of like show yourself and like, get that chances for.
Very, I've always really liked national competition. Even now, I'm like, I still really like it. I mean, the best way to say it. Over the years, the top level players have kind of moved. Like Grubby and Red have moved on, and I've kind of slowly started taking their spot, even though I'm nowhere close to it yet. But the DSO is one of those tournaments where it really is your opportunity to shine as a Dutch player, especially, right? So I do like it.
All right, awesome. Well, let's just move on from this because we are chatting away and filling lots of time, which is great, but we've all got things to... I know, there's like the one time we've recorded an episode and I actually have like a time limit because I have to cast in like less than an hour, so we're gonna have to move on. I think this is like, that was one of our main topics of the day though, but moving on, this is kind of still regional based, so a couple of weeks back now I actually travelled to Turkmenistan of all places, and that's a really crazy story, and I'm going to talk about that. I'm still going to make a vlog. Like, it was such a cool and surreal place, but I don't want to spend too much time here talking about the place and my travels and how surreal and once in a lifetime it was, because it really was crazy. But we travelled there, me, Rapid, and Tenchi were the casters for the StarCraft 2 at the Asian Indoor Martial Arts Games, which was really awesome because this is like an Olympic committee organized event. It happens once every 4 years. It's a big deal. Like, you might not realize, like, I didn't really realize this, but when I got off the airplane, there's only the logo on their money, like, on the taxis, everywhere in the city of the games. Like, it's a pretty big deal. It's sort of like, I guess, like the Commonwealth Games or something is something I would, like, relate it to, just, like, it's Asian-based, I guess, so I'm not very good at describing it. But anyways, so we had esports at this event for the first time. I think it was actually there 4 years ago as well, but it was here this time too. And it's a no prize pool event. It's medals only, and we only had 8 players. There was a lot of conflict, and I don't really want to get into the drama. But the idea is that this is this is the sort of the testing grounds for kind of esports being introduced to something like the Olympics. And this tournament, for example, now, this Asian Indoor Martial Arts Games, next time around, 4 years from now, it will actually, it awarded medals this time, but next time the medals will actually count to the final medal counts of each country participating in the games. So this is esports that's genuinely getting accepted on like a high-scale national sort of sports level. And again, like I was reading an article about this, that the idea of, is this the way of kind of esports getting into the Olympics, because it is starting to become a discussion, especially because of this event. And it was kind of, it's kind of crazy. I'm just going to very quickly, I know I've been talking for a while, but I'm just very quickly going to say, like, the event itself was kind of cool. Iasoni won, Jigwest second, CRS third. Not really much to mention, no real surprises. Nice was a player that showed up that we knew about that didn't do as well as we maybe thought, but other than that, the event itself and the actual games, I would say, were cool, were interesting, but nothing special. But what I just want to touch on here for a couple of minutes is the idea of actual like esports in the Olympics, and just get your guys' views on it, because I mean, there's so many debates on this, and I just want to get some general opinions, because for me, like, I kind of think it's cool, but then I sort of think, well, is it necessary? Do we need that? And I sort of think, well, yeah, why not? But then it's sort of like, there's so many things to debate. So I just want to get some general opinions, and if anything glaringly kind of bad or like issues sort of kind of come up to you guys as, sort of issues there might be with that.
Okay. Well, there has been like a lot of mixed opinions regarding it. Like, right? Do we
Yeah,
want to
definitely.
be an Olympic esport? Do we even need it? To be honest, I'm not too sure, because over the years, like the audience that watches esports, it's definitely a different audience than the one that watches traditional Olympics, right? I think that's pretty fair
Hmm.
to say in general.
I suppose, but I
There's
suppose
some
we maybe
overlap
often.
though.
I
Yeah.
think there's a
There's
lot of overlap.
I guess, but
I
to
think
come back
so.
to the
I
point,
think people who watch esports are still fairly likely to watch regular sports and be interested in like football and stuff like that.
yeah,
I think it's
that's
people who maybe watch traditional sports right now are not as likely to go and watch esports. Like, if you're an esports fan, you're very likely to also be a traditional sports fan. But if you claim yourself to be a traditional sports fan, you're not as likely to be an esports fan.
yeah.
Is the way I
That's
think it
the point where I was getting at. Like it's very interesting because I think it's very simple to recognize traditional sports and be like, okay, I know what's going on.
is.
I
Right.
know the basic rules of the sport, right?
Hmm.
Whereas in esports, like you've it's so big. There's like so many different genres of games that it almost is it's every game is its own very own esport almost. Um,
Right, and I
like a
think that's an
MOBA is
issue. Like,
completely different to an RTS, for example, and that
sure.
is completely different to
And
Rocket League, for
which games should they even have,
yeah,
as well?
exactly.
Yeah,
And
it's tough because the thing is too, like, it's sort of like whichever game they bring in, like it has to last a while, right? Like it has to be.
hmm
So
there has to be
there's
infrastructure
there's
for it.
those
There
sort
has to
of
be a
issues
scene.
too. Yeah, it is a weird question, but I know what you mean. Like the one thing I would say is that I wouldn't necessarily say it's a terribly bad thing, like not being able to know what's going on. It's like, obviously a lot of the big traditional sports people know the rules of, right? But
Mm.
the bigger ones are there for a reason. They are biggest for a reason. But there is some things in the Olympics where you don't really know the rules. Like I'd say like volleyball, for example, is something where a lot of people, for example, from the
Yeah,
UK,
for
I think a
sure.
lot of people watch it and they sort of know and can sort of tell what's happening, but they don't know the specific rules or exact.
Yeah, I guess in general with esports that's kind of the same, though. There's always the outlier games, like for example StarCraft. I mean, you don't
Sure.
really know what these craps are. Are they drones? Are they
Yeah.
ultras?
Okay. Sure.
Hey,
I
then
mean,
you're getting into pretty
that's
vague
a
territory.
completely new thing as well. Like I was, we were casting Legion indoor martial arts games. We had to kind of direct our broadcast at being sort of, introductory to newer people who might be watching this as a idea, getting an idea of what these games are to put into
Mhm.
these events. And it was very, it was a very kind of basic introductory cast, sort of saying, well, the idea of this is that. And again, I think if you have the right commentary sort of technique on it, it can help a lot as well. Uh, Again, I don't want to spend too long on this because it's such a it was such a huge topic, and we might do a separate show on it altogether somewhere down the road. I just thought it linked in nicely to the idea of national competition and talking about WSG.
Yeah.
Mark, do you got any opinions?
There's so much to talk about, right? You can split this into so many arguments. I think the biggest problem will be the backlash from the hardcore Olympic fans.
Right,
Because
yeah,
Also,
yeah,
the
100%.
quotation ego of the esports fans, like, why do we want to be
well,
associated
yeah,
with
yeah,
this?
just
Yeah,
yeah, from both
It,
sides in general. But like,
yeah.
this will automatically go back to but esports isn't a real sports because it's not an athletic thing. And yeah, sure, by the standard definition of sports, this has been an argument that's been like
there's
this has
arguments been
been
on forever.
trampled
Yeah,
to death. But whether that's true or not, like definitions do evolve, right? So does the Olympic Committee want to work on that? Like, do the Olympics want to be really progressive in that sense, or is that maybe too early for that? That's really the question that you want to ask. And are they ready to have their? I guess I don't want to really want to kind of a community because everyone in the world knows about and watches at some point the Olympics, right? But do they want to really divide their viewer base like that? It's not like it's going to completely disrupt the Olympics or anything, but it is going to it's pretty significant, right? So it's a big step to make.
I don't know. I just think it'd be something else going on. I don't think people are not going to watch the Olympics because there's esports on, right? If
Oh,
Yeah,
anything,
for sure. Yeah,
it's just going to draw more people to both esports and even some of the esports people that don't, again, I think esports has a lot more to gain from going to the Olympics than the Olympics has to
For
gain
sure.
adding esports,
Yeah.
right? But I
But
think,
it's maybe I think like chess isn't I'm not 100% sure on the technicalities of it. But chess is like I think the Olympic Committee does recognize it as a sport, but it's obviously not represented at the Olympics,
yes,
right?
yes.
I think esports could kind of fit that as well.
So this is sort of the same thing at the Asian Indoor Martial Arts Games. They actually have like chess. They actually have like a bunch of things that aren't in the Olympics. So
Yeah.
it is interesting, but again, it's crazy. Cool to get just a couple of your thoughts on it because again, don't want to spend too long. Like we said,
Yeah, for
we
sure.
could go on forever. But it is something that's happening. It is something that's kind of becoming a thing. And again, maybe we have a show further down the line. I actually was going to maybe talk to Rapid and get him to come on and sort of, just us together, sort of have a thing about the Asian Indoor Martial Arts Games and just sort of where, because I think actually haven't been to an event like this and talked to some people who were like, "Why are you here?" It was kind of like quite insightful. So maybe I think Rapid had some similar conversations. So we might do a show on that again in the future. Again, I just thought this kind of tied in nicely with the idea of national competition because the thing I want to say as well is, well, why can't we just have WSG be kind of like our Olympics? Maybe that's the way WSG is beginning to head. Like, do we really
I mean,
need to
I
be
think
part
they're
of something
kind of
else?
taking that approach here with like the national competitions.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that yeah, I really like WESG's format, and I mean, a lot of people are either pro or not pro Olympics, I guess, in the esports scene. Personally, I'm not too sure. There's both upsides and downsides, of course. So yeah, I don't know. I think we could talk about this for like an hour at least, but I'm not too sure.
No, I agree as well. It's a tough one. So we'll just call it there for that. What we are going to do is just to wrap this show up because we don't want to go on too much longer. We're already going half an hour, guys. Crazy. But we are going to move on to the last little topic that I decided to add in as Optimus joins us today, which is that we have been seeing a lot of, a lot of mech starting to transpire in TvZ over the past month or so. And
Mhm.
Bio has definitely taken a step back to the point where it's not really just I saw someone playing mech sort of thing anymore. Like, it's not sort of one of those things where someone played mech and it worked and there was a bit of a frenzy and then people got over it. It's really becoming a thing again. So
Mhm.
I just want to kind of pick your mind, or maybe again we don't have to really spend too long on this. I just want to get a general idea and maybe talk some bits and pieces and see where it goes. But why is mech becoming such a thing in TvZ again? Is it just becoming that good a composition? If people figured that out, have they figured out how to deal with swarm hosts or so? Is that it? Is it because Bio just isn't living up to the kind of what it needs to right now? We had this. It's a great day to talk about this because just today, obviously a bit jokingly, but just today in a Limo League, Innovation typed out of his TvZ where he played Bio
Yeah.
against Solar, with a good old Zergo PGG. So he typed on
He
out
is
with that one.
human, guys. He is
Yes.
human. He knows it.
You
He
know,
has
you know
emotion.
what?
No.
You know what? This actually really bothers me because Innovation, when you see him at an event, is actually like when you see him like not playing and stuff, but like talking to people, he's quite obviously got like some personality. And when you like see him online and stuff and like talking to people, like I do some Google Translate of Korean when they're talking in the lobby waiting for the game to start. Yeah, he's a pretty funny guy. Like he throws some shade. He just doesn't have that sort of appearance in the foreign scene. Anyways. Talk to us about Mech Optimus.
Open the salt mines.
Well, I think I've kind of explained this on stream because obviously I stream and I play mech, and people ask me, "Well, why do you play mech? Do you not like bio?" I think it's a combination of a few things. It started a few months ago where Terrence didn't have the best map pool, the current one. Map distance is quite long. Bio has always relied on doing damage early on, or at least to some extent crippling the early Zerg economy. And with the natural way how Terran production works is the longer the distance, the worse it is for the race. So you always want to do some kind of damage. And if the distance is just too long, they will get in too many drone rounds before they have to make units. Um, that in combination with the queens as well as Hive Tech being kind of figured out, like the ideal way how to get to Hive Tech now that Hydras are viable. It's a very difficult time because you have to do damage, but due to the queens and the map distance, it's very difficult to get damage done. And now that Hive Tech is so well thought out the way they can get to Hive. It's difficult to even play Bio, to be honest.
I think Hive Tech is crazy right now. Like you get up to
Yeah,
like you get Lingbane Hydra, which keeps you pretty safe for a good amount of time. Then you hit Ultras, but then you just get Vipers up. So as soon as you get Liberators,
yeah.
they just get abducted. And
The
Zerg's
standard like infestation pit timing is like 6 minutes in Europe, maybe even earlier, and you just by that time your stim just finished, and they're already starting the infestation pit. Um, like that's it's just so difficult. And what I found out about Mech at least is for me personally, I know a lot of Zergs kind of struggle with the spellcasters. There are some Zergs like Snoot, for example, that are really good with spellcasters, and Mech against him is, well, it's probably more difficult than Bio, to be honest.
sure.
But in general, Zergs are not really used to using their spellcasters too well because they kind of just they rely on their unit
Main army,
numbers.
right?
Yeah, exactly. And their unit numbers, like the overwhelming swarm. And against mech, you cannot really swarm mech. You have to take a really good fight. And if you're on even army supply, mech will usually win. And it forces Zerg to really put in effort. And that in combination with Bio kind of falling off, getting figured out, it's mech has been a bit of a resurgence. Is that the right word for
Yeah,
it?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, sure.
It's shown a bit, but it's also shown weakness for me personally. I'm not too big of a fan of it at the moment, but it seems to be the main go-to style right now.
Do
So
you
I
think
think that
TvZ in general is just becoming a bit difficult? Do you think there's just needs some tweaks to sort
mm,
of fix the balance just slightly, or do you think it's just something Terrans are going to figure out how to start doing damage again and like get into a stage of the game where they can feel comfortable playing against the later Zerg?
I'm not too sure. I think the longer this goes on, the worse it's gonna get for Terran, because Terran has always kind of relied on a few new builds. Like when Heli and Benji came out, it completely dominated Zergs. When the Stimrod came out, Zergs were losing to it.
Sure.
When Reapers came out, they lost it, right? Like they kind of need their own little gimmick to get ahead of the meta. And at the moment, everything is so well figured out. Like even the speed bench is something completely crazy. Got figured out
Yeah.
in like one series how to hold it. So yeah, I think it's just mainly the Queens, the map pool, and Hive Tech that pretty much forces Terran to play mech at the moment.
You think that the map
Um,
pool changes up a bit for next season? We'll see Bio come back into play again.
uh, I'm not sure if it will completely come back into play, but I think um, in general, maps like Acolyte really are terrible for Bio.
I mean, of course. I mean, but that's like meant to be the macro map of the map
Yeah.
pool, right? I guess the thing is, I think I know what you mean because right now the map pool is like arguably as quotation mark good as it's been in a long time because the maps all just feel fairly normal. Like there's
hmm
no map that's like super gimmicky apart from like Catalina. Every map is just sort of like straight up like here's your four bases, like
Yeah,
not super easy, but
but that makes them good for Zerg, right?
Yeah,
That's kind
in
of the
general,
thing
that's where
there.
Zerg kind of excels. When they get to
sure.
their four bases, they get to their 80 drones. Zerg are happy people. Whereas with Terran, it's like, well, I kind of need to do some damage here, guys. Can we do this, please? Like it's been a bit of a joke among pros, but when Zerg is at like 80 drones and Terran at 50 SCVs, you might as well GG out, right?
Mhm.
But it's gotten
So,
especially bad over the recent few months, I think.
really quickly, I don't know if you have played much or seen some test map, but that's obviously going to be coming out after BlizzCon, right? What do you feel about that? Like, is there any significant? Because Zerg is getting pretty big, um, big nerfs. I think it was off creep, right? So they're getting well, like
I
their offensive potential. I feel like it's gonna Zerg is gonna be a little bit more defense oriented, even more so than it is now, I guess.
But isn't
I
that just the
haven't
issue that Zerg
really.
can like
Yeah,
Zerg
Yeah,
don't
so I'm
need to
wondering if that's
attack.
gonna escalate or actually try to fix
I
the
think it's
problems
gonna
that
be
are
an
at hand.
issue because I haven't paid too much attention to the changes, but I believe the auto turret is completely gone, right?
Yeah, the
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 nobody
Raven is
Raven.
the Raven is completely different, mate. There's like
Yeah,
three
there's
three
no
brand
there's
new
no more auto
abilities. Yeah.
turret, right? There's the
No.
repair drone and the weird scrambler
Red
missile,
Red Drone Scramble Missile and
some other weird
something
ability.
something else I can't remember right now.
Anyway, so what it means is basically right now Terran has two options. Either you do some kind of Hellion drop or Hellion harass or Raven harass, Cloak Banshee. with the new patch, the Ravens are completely thrown out. So that's another thing Zerg doesn't have to worry about. They don't have to worry about early drops anymore because Stimrop is figured out, Reapers are figured out, Ravens are gonna be gone. They're gonna get to more drones even earlier, and I think unless there's some drastic change about the Queen, Mech is only gonna become even more meta than on the current patch.
Okay. I think so too. Like, I'm not really up to date with the changes, but if it's like Thalandros says, and it's one of those situations where it's like the Zerg can't attack as easily, well, that's not really the issue. Like, the issue is that Zerg can just survive until they've got such a good army anyways that, a lot of the times nowadays in TvZ, I feel as though the only thing that Terrans stay alive on is the fact that the Zerg do just attack into bad positions, because they're so far ahead that they may as well attack into bad positions. Because if they don't, they're just letting the Terran... it's kind of like a silly way, like, circle of whatever, but it's...
Well, okay,
kind of weird.
so like another thing that's actually gonna, I guess, affect both Zerg and Terran pretty heavily then is like the amount of minerals that can be mined, right? They're gonna increase that again, so kind of not back to HOTS, but a little bit closer to it.
This is probably... I didn't really want to do like a topic on a show
Okay,
on the
sure,
balance changes,
sure.
simply because of the fact that they keep changing things every
Yeah,
week.
that's
And
true. That's
I
true.
figured like we'd probably do a show when they actually finalize what is going to go into the game.
That is
like,
a good idea.
a month and a half or so. So we'll just leave it there. I was just interested while Optimus was on, someone who is playing Mech a lot, maybe why he thinks the Mech is making the resurgence, as he says.
Making it
But
happen.
Making
Meching
it happen.
it up.
Making it happen. Alright, well, we are going to wrap it up there because that's been a pretty solid amount of time. I didn't actually see when we started, but I'm pretty sure it's been at least 45 minutes, 40-ish minutes. So
Yeah.
we're gonna call it right here. Thank you guys for joining me once again. Let's start with Vincent, the Optimus. Dude, thank you for joining us. Please, any
Thanks for having
shout-outs, any bits and pieces?
I shout out to my loyal Twitch subs. No, shout out to my team, that Pixels. And yeah, if you like my gameplay or want to see more of me, follow me on Twitch, Optimus SC2, on Twitter at dpixoptimus. For us shoutouts, not really. My team, thank you. My stream, followers, etc. And throwing it over to Martosis.
Martosis simmering for you, man. Yeah, no, I guess that's my new handle. I'm gonna go with it. It seems to catch on, but then again, I guess I might get like a letter from Martosis that he might not be too happy with that. But we're gonna have to see that at BlizzCon.
You're gonna have to give him your ad revenue in.
I'm waiting to see the Martosis ladder account, SC2 account at the top of GM, like top one GMEU. yeah. It's gonna be great.
Get on it, Optimus.
Alright.
Get
€1
grinding.
per win, Mart.
Hey,
A little
mate,
bit-
all the Zergs are in Korea. Now's the opportunity.
Hey.
A little bit of an,
PvP is imbalanced, isn't it?
You know what's funny? Just very quickly here, sorry, Matt, but today was the first time in 13 months that there's a Go for SE2 monthly finalist that was not a Zerg winner. Like, the first time
Wow.
in 13 months, Zerg didn't win the Go for SE2 monthly finals. And you know why it is? Because all the Zergs are in Korea. Like, literally, none of the Zergs played in Go for SE2 this month. And that's the only reason there's been a non-Zerg
Wow.
victor. Alright, Mart, your shoutouts.
Yeah, a little bit of a quick announcement. I have recently gotten the knowledge that I will actually be joining Wardy at BlizzCon to help him produce some content. So that's going to be great because we are a phenomenal duo, I think. Wardy-
Sure, my announcement too. I'm also going to be going to BlizzCon. Now
Whoa,
confirmed.
dude.
Whoa!
Bamboozled. I'm not going to BlizzCon, guys. Hello. Team
Whoa,
not BlizzCon.
why are you in here if you're not going to BlizzCon? This is a
No,
BlizzCon
I'll see you.
show.
But
This is
apart
for
from
relevant
that,
only.
apart from that, follow me on Twitter at Thalandros if you want, or Martosis by the time this goes live, maybe. I'm also looking to do a pre or post BlizzCon. I'm not exactly sure on the timing. Got to figure it out with the guests, but something about a recap about the entirety of 2017 in terms of WCS. But that's going to be in the future, so you guys can look forward to that if you do so desire. And that's it for me, I think.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we're also going to be doing the next episodes of this show are going to be dedicated to BlizzCon, so we're going to be doing a build-up to BlizzCon. I think we're going to do 3 episodes, which cover kind of a different topic each week. So watch out for that, starting next week, our first episode coming through. So That'll be our build up to BlizzCon series here on Natural Expansion. Obviously, if you guys enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button or subscribe button or follow button. Depends where you're watching, honestly. We're going to be, again, trying to do these as regular as we can. Like, we're trying for once a week, but sometimes things get a bit crazy, like the last 3 weeks. So we're trying to do it as often as we can. And if you've got any ideas, feedback, or whatever, please do share. Obviously, you can keep up to date with all the WardiTV stuff on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook at WardiTV. And on Twitch at Wardy with multiple eyes. That's still never gonna work on the shoutouts. Alright guys, we're gonna wrap it up though. Thanks for watching Natural Expansion. Thanks to my guests again, and we will be back next week with even more StarCraft 2 talk and all the rest of it. Have a good one, and we'll see you guys next time.